What makes a modern television brand exactly? And what makes one look dated? Through the eyes of one of Croatia's major television channels, let's find out in another Rebrand review. Brand design in parts of Central and Eastern Europe is weird. The bar, as it were, can sometimes seem to be a little different or lower than audiences in Western Europe are accustomed to. Commercial television in many of these states is still relatively new, a few decades old at most, so perhaps they're still working some of the kinks out. As much as there are polished, high-quality looks in the space, there are also channels which are more visually lacking than one would expect elsewhere. And a few are so unashamed as to just outright rip off other better-known television brands from abroad. Regardless, any jump forward is appreciated, and one broadcaster made a pretty decent one somewhat recently. Nova TV, not to be confused with the Spanish Nova, the Czech Nova, the Bulgarian Nova, the Polish TVN, in which the N stands for Nova, the also Polish but unrelated Nova TV, partly owned by the rivals Polsat, or the PBS Science program for good measure, is a Croatian television network owned by telecom company United Group. Until 2018, it was owned by Central European Media Enterprises, a little-known arm of Warner Media until they hacked it off last year, or as the Czech Nova among other broadcasters. Launching in 2000, Nova TV was Croatia's first commercial broadcaster, and it quickly made its name as a generalist outlet through imports, hit reality franchises, sports, and eventually, series. In terms of the channel's branding, after some initial designs over its first few years, in 2004 the channel crafted what would become its most recognizable logo, an italicized lowercase n sitting in a holding shape reminiscent of an @ sign. Effectively an ownable mirror image of the channel's previous wordmark from launch, which displayed as NOV at. A few further refinements over the years brings us to the before stop on this reviewing ride, their longest tenured logo introduced in 2007, and their longest serving ident introduced in 2008. Could you scream 2008 any harder? The font choice for the wordmark portion of the logo, FontFont's FF trademarker, also seen in the logo of TV format The Voice, certainly tries. The ident itself certainly looks like it hails from some point in the Hey 2000s. Wispy red trails on a white background form in as the Nova logo draws itself in on an invisible ball. It's not the worst thing ever per se, but it looks horribly dated. And this was in use for 11 years. To be fair, this wasn't their only ident. A number of other idents were added over the years, which I wasn't originally aware of before researching for the script. Many of them are really technically well done, with creative use of visual effects and processing, but at times it also felt like it could devolve into really basic affairs where the logo feels slapped on as an afterthought. But for a brand design to endure for so long, or at least age well, 11 years is an eternity in television, it needs to be pretty inventive, and I don't think Nova's 2008 package necessarily holds that kind of muster. Given the fact that the design space would rush towards ever flower designs literally the second after this redesign, the main ident looks out of step. The other idents rectify this decently enough, but the rest of the package, in which the N logo as an invisible ball is blown up and its edges used to display programming information, is clever but still makes it look feel dated. The use of ITC Avant-Garde Gothic Pro Condensed as the typeface doesn't help it here, at least in my opinion. By 2019, it was more than about time for a rebrand for Nova. The broadcaster chose to task Red Bee Creative, once an arm of the BBC but now long independent, and they came up with a comprehensive overhaul of the channel's brand. Welcome to the 2010s, Nova. Glad you could make it. But more seriously, the new look centers, both figuratively and literally, on an updated logo, which takes the recognizable elements from the 2008 look and modernizes them, doing away with the unnecessary 2000s pretense in the process. The new generic ident evokes pixels, in a sense, as waves pulsating away from the logo. The rest of the ident set comprises an assortment of scenes, some particularly locally flavored, which all conclude in a circular arrangement that the logo appears within. BBC One, take notes. Or maybe the notes have already been taken by the Croatians. The visual language throughout the rest of the brand design is quite unique. With multi-platform usage in mind, though not to the extent that it's gimmicky and trying too hard, Nova presents a clean, clear design. End boards feature well-placed elements centralized on screen, with the Nova logo impossible to miss in the middle of the action. In theory, sticking the logo in the middle would make it harder to showcase content on the end board, for instance in a similar style to end boards on American TV, which are very program-centric, at times to their detriment. However, Nova resolves this potential conflict by showing a full-screen program logo first, that then transitions to the main end board with the program info. Plus, the filmic rule of thirds will cancel out the issue in most cases, as well as the action in any clip they might choose will at least be partially off to one side. Some of the other graphics and animations really deserve some praise here. The logo format in the channel bug, promos, and idents is snappy but complex enough to give the logo's arrival, and departure in the case of the bug, some real impact. The generic background, which I'm not sure is seen on-screen use, of lightly indented, concentric, half-formed circles looks really nice. Even the animations to the end boards are worth a second glance. The main circular animation is already great, but then you notice there's a little bit of a size shift on some of the clip for a brief second while all the graphics settle in. It's a whole load of caring attention to detail that one could argue doesn't need to be there, but it adds so much more to the brand, and I'm really happy the extra effort was put in to step this look just that little bit further above and beyond. The typeface in use for this rebrand is FS Untitled from Fontsmith, a copy of the text version of the font they made for the UK's Channel 4 in their wildly creative and much acclaimed brand package used between 2004 and 2015. It's a font that, for most English-speaking brand enthusiasts, will be eternally inextricably linked to Channel 4, but works surprisingly well in this context too. Its square shape offers a strange but welcome contrast to the curves presented in the graphics and the logo. All of that said, the new look for Nova TV comes off as a little generic, and a bit old in itself. To me, this could have come out in 2011 just as much as 2019, but it still looks modern here and not out of place. To some extent, I can feel echoes of the look of Channel 5 in the UK between 2014 and 2016, just after the Viacom CBS acquisition, but that looked far cheaper and far worse than what Nova has here. Perhaps the thought of it feeling creatively well worn already will help Nova in the years to come. It's certainly a brand design that looks more than ready to go the distance as a long-lasting look, and the brand will have plenty of room to stretch its legs in new directions already, as Nova has a few international siblings of its own in the Balkans, Serbia's Nova S, Nova M in Montenegro, and Nova BH in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Nova M and Nova BH were acquired in 2018 from Serbian broadcaster RTV Pink, a regional juggernaut in its own right, while Nova S was launched by United as generalist outlet Top in 2017 before becoming the fourth Nova offshoot in 2019. Upon their launches, all three used variants of the 2008 graphics package from their Croatian parent set in different colors, Nova M in purple, Nova BH in orange, and Nova S in a dark maroon. Bafflingly, as of 2021, Nova M and Nova BH continue to use the 2008 look in spite of the 2019 look's existence. Given the time frame involved, you'd think they would have given at least some thought to launching versions of the new brand for all four Nova channels at roughly the same time, especially due to the fact that, given their design approach, there wouldn't be much extra effort. However, we do have an idea as to how the channel's look will adapt to these regional offshoots, as in spring 2020, Nova S received its own version of the 2019 brand design. As expected, there's very little difference between the Serbian and Croatian channels, with the dominant color changed to a maroon, which appears so dark on screen that it comes off as brown. As to why the Serbian feed has been able to rebrand and not the others, there are a few potential explanations. Perhaps United is a bit more attached to the channel they launched themselves or the ones they acquired. It's possible the pandemic slowed down the rollout of the new look, as many were at home and away from work for months. Maybe there are some technical or creative challenges still to overcome, though I'd think the Croatian and Serbian rebrands would have resolved those. In any case, the awkward situation of much of the same programming going out with promos and branding under two different packages continues, though I'd think the added nuisance of doing twice the work, in a sense, would have made rebranding Nova M and Nova BH alongside siblings make plenty of sense. While it may appear to be a small step forward chronologically, the 2019 rebrand of Nova TV in Croatia is a giant leap visually and functionally. The modern, versatile look punches well above its weight and readies Nova and its Balkan siblings for continued success in years to come. Welcome to the 2010s, Nova. At least you arrived fashionably late. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next Rebrand review, plus more from the world of television every single week. You can watch the first episode taking a look at Sony's AXN up here or down in the description. I'm Benzie Johnson Jr., I'm enthusiastic about television, and I'll see you next time.